Hey, how's it going everyone? My name's Roger, and today I'm going to be going over why I switched from the Epic W Helium to the Gemini. So yeah, today I'm basically just gonna be going over a few pros and cons of owning the Epic W and also just like my initial thoughts of going to the Gemini now that I've had it for about a month. So yeah, I've had the Epic W Helium for 2 years now. Basically, since it came out, I traded up from the Scarlet Dragon to the Helium, which I thought was a really good deal. But yeah, initially kind of what bothered me when I first got the Helium, at least with the Epic W, is that it could really only go up to 30 frames in 8K, which was very limiting because then I would have to like basically scale down to 6K just to get up to 60 frames per second. And as you know, a lot of clients ask for 60 frames, especially with like music videos and stuff like that. So when you're having to crop down to 6K and you know, you're basically cropping in on the sensor, and so the footage quality isn't as good, so you have to like lower your compression ratio to compensate. And yeah, that would just, you know, become a pain anytime I would travel with the Epic W. Like when I went to Italy, I really didn't want to shoot a bunch of 8K footage, even though I wanted to. I just didn't really have the card space. So yeah, that was really something that always kind of bummed me out about the Epic W. Or at least the Helium sensor is, you know, if you want to shoot full frame, you're gonna have to do 8K, and that's really a lot of data. And you know, my computer, you know, I have a good setup, but it still hates 8K footage, and I have to basically do 1/16, you know, playback on in Premiere Pro just to be able to edit. And even then, if I add any effects or anything like that, it really bogs it down. And I'm not one to do proxies. I hate doing proxies. I feel like it's like, yeah, I'm sure it does save you time in the end, but just the fact that like I just like to just throw the footage right on the computer and just start editing. So a big reason why I switched over to the Gemini, which I'm sure a lot of you guys are like also considering, is just the low light performance. I just shot a music video completely at 3200 ISO with just 3 Asteras, and I'll put a link to it below. But yeah, it looks amazing. It really looks like I had a bunch of sky panels in there blasting away. So that brings a ton of value to the camera. I mean, just being able to shoot, you know, in the city with no lights at all, and like the low light is just amazing. I mean, I have a shoot coming up where the artist basically said, I just want to shoot natural light in the city. You know, is this possible? And at the time she asked me, I had the Helium, and I was like, ooh, I don't know, like maybe if I shot at like 360 shutter angle and you know, on my fastest class and shooting at like 3200 ISO with the lowest compression, you know, but all these things you have to compensate for just to shoot in low light like that. So yeah, getting the Gemini, really, I feel like it's a lot less intense for clients if they're like, what resolution are you shooting at? You know, if you're like, oh, I'm 5K, they don't really choke on their own spit as much. Almost every time I say 8K, you know, the client gets they either have these 3 reactions. They either get really nervous because they're like, oh my gosh, I don't think we have the storage space for that, or they think it's really cool, but they also most likely they don't really know what it is, and that's the last one, is just not knowing at all what 8K is. Even some clients don't even know what 4K is. You just explain it to them, they're like, oh yeah, I've heard 4K before, but they have no idea what it is. Yeah, ultimately, I when I first bought my Helium, I felt very much like, okay, this is kind of a future-proof camera, you know, it'll be relevant in like years to come, and that is still possible, but obviously by then, there's gonna be a new, bigger and better camera. No one's gonna be wanting to shoot on the Helium. You know, at least maybe just like low budget stuff, just kind of like when you shoot on the RED one and it's like, oh yeah, like this is still a great camera, but it's, you know, there's bigger and better things that are coming out. So my thing was really just like, you know, the Gemini right now seems to be the hottest RED camera. Obviously like the Komodo's getting some buzz, but the Komodo I feel like is entry level and not at all what you want to show up on a professional set with, shooting a movie with this like little teeny thing. I mean, I'm sure some people would love to do it, but for me, the Gemini is kind of the sweet spot in between all the sensors that RED offers right now. You know, it's great in low light. The 5K, you know, doesn't scare your clients, and it's really easy on the computer. I love the image. It's the one sensor that RED hasn't made It's a CMOS sensor, so obviously Sony made it. But yeah, it just has an amazing look. It kind of feels more like the Alexa. It has more of like a natural look, not as saturated, and I feel like a lot of clients really love that look. I just shot a project. I was filming with Garrett Warren, he's the second unit director of Avatar, and he, basically I brought my Helium and we compared the Helium and the Gemini, and he agreed. He's just like, the Gemini just has that it just has that look. It's the newest sensor from RED also, so it just has like a new, really creamy, natural look that, I mean, when you basically compare that with the low light, the 5K, the Super 35 sensor, and also this is one thing I forgot to mention, but the frame rate, being able to shoot up to like 90 frames per second in 5K full frame, like that's amazing. That's comparable to the Alexa Mini, because really, like, what bums me out, even if you get the DSMC2 Helium or the Monstro, you can really go up to only like 60 frames in full frame. To be able to spend $50,000 on a camera, at least just on the brain, and it still can't do 80 or 90 frames full frame, like that's a pain. So it's nice to know with the Gemini, even whether I'm in low light or I'm in like standard mode, I can go up to that high frame rate and not have to crop in, and that to me is extremely valuable. And it's really the only RED camera. I think the Dragon 6K also does that, but yeah, for me the Gemini is just the best bang for your buck. It's the hottest camera right now, so that's ultimately why I switched over. And RED is running a promotion right now you can still side grade to the Gemini if you have a DSMC2 camera. So yeah, I'd say now's the time if you're gonna do it. B&H also offers an upgrade program. So yeah, those are my thoughts on going to the Gemini from the Helium and basically why I did it. If you guys have any other questions about this camera, feel free to comment below. Definitely subscribe. Let me know what you guys think, and we'll see you next time.